people like Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris are going to have a very, very difficult time no matter what their campaign is, no matter what they say, no matter what they do, because they come to represent exactly what people most hate. In their mind, Donald Trump is nothing more than a racist, fascist, felon, rapist, white supremacist that they really can't comprehend. Why someone that they know is the symbol and root of all evil is somebody that hundreds of millions of Americans continue to vote for and want to be empowered. There are so many obvious trends, not just in American democratic life, but throughout Western democracies. And the towering one is the one that explains Trump's victory in 2016, his victory last night, and his extremely close race with Joe Biden, despite every conceivable headwind that an incumbent can face, beginning with a worldwide pandemic that closed down most of the country and resulted in extreme economic harm. Trump, above all, is a person who has tapped into and understands the reality that most Americans despise establishment institutions. They believe that the financial system is geared only toward helping the people at the very top at their expense. They believe the corporate media lies to them continuously to manipulate them for political ends. They believe the political class cares about everything other than their own interest. And they're right about all of that. And what we have seen in country after country after country in the democratic world is that whoever can come and most credibly present themselves as a vehicle for attacking and dismantling and destroying the establishment factions that people most hate, and for good and justifiable reasons, those people have enormous political advantage. Conversely, anybody who seems to be the living, breathing embodiment of the status quo ruling class, people like Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris, are going to have a very, very difficult time no matter what their campaign is, no matter what they say, no matter what they do, because they seem to represent, with their stability and their proper decorum and their perfectly comported behavior all the time, and most of all the fact that these ruling institutions are on their side, they come to represent exactly what people most hate. And this has been so obvious for so long that this is the dynamic that drives Trump's popularity more than anything else. And yet, each time that these institutions try and understand why Trump, a person that they've demonized in their own minds, beyond Pol Pot or even Adolf Hitler, continues to attract so much appeal, so much popularity, they resort to one of two answers. Number one, they just say, we don't understand it. And they really don't, because they live in this tiny little bubble with other like-minded elites who worship American institutions, who respect and want to preserve status quo ruling class authority, who are doing very well in life, and for that reason are very happy with how things are proceeding. And they really are baffled. They just can't understand. In their mind, Donald Trump is nothing more than a racist, fascist, felon, rapist, white supremacist, all of those words they throw around at him constantly and to each other and for each other every day, that they really can't comprehend why someone that they know is the symbol and root of all evil is somebody that hundreds of millions of Americans continue to vote for and want to be empowered. The other option to which they resort, once they get past that bafflement, is to start blaming the people who voted for him by essentially saying, well, they're voting for somebody who is satanic, who is racist, who is misogynistic, who is fascist, who hates minority groups, because the people in the country support those values. They're the same as him. They're also racist and primitive or stupid. They're just stupid. And therefore they're supporting Trump because there's great flaws in all of their character. And if you think I'm exaggerating, that has been the overwhelming ethos, not just in the last 24 hours when all of these media elites who were so sure Trump was going to lose have to now grapple with the fact that even though they wake up every day and go to work every day at these major gigantic corporations and say the same thing everybody else is saying at these corporations about Trump, and they're all so convinced of it, that the people who went and vote just not only don't pay any attention to it, are not influenced by anything they're saying. If anything, they backlash against what they're being told to do. They do the opposite because they know that these are the people representative of the institutions they most hate. And it's unbelievable to me how little capacity they have for any kind of introspection, for any kind of self-critique. I've been talking about this so much when you look at polling data about why institutions in media are held in such low esteem. Oftentimes, journalists in these outlets won't even acknowledge it. If they do acknowledge it, they'll blame other things that have nothing to do with their flaws. Oh, well, they've stopped trusting us because there's so much disinformation online. People have been encouraged to not trust us. The Russians are convincing people not to trust our institutions. It's nothing at all to do with anything they've done wrong. So there's just no introspection. And then it's true more broadly of the reasons why people hold elite institutions in contempt, in general, in such contempt. There's no self-reflection. Why is it that people perceive that these political and financial and media institutions care about everything other than the vast majority of Americans? Why is it that they perceive that? There must be some reason. But interrogating that reason would require them to engage in some kind of critique, self-criticism, and that, more than anything, is what they cannot do. And that's why you've seen so much today of these people who pretend they love America and love Americans so much and just want to unite their fellow Americans, spewing utter contempt and insult and degradation. And not just at the specific voters who voted for Trump, but at the entire groups of people who, as wholes, moved more toward Trump and more away from the Democratic Party. As always with liberals, you just need to scratch a tiny little bit, and you find under that surface just raging hatred and contempt for the so-called marginalized groups the minute that they don't do what they're told.